Is it wrong to pursue a hobby even if I'm not particularly good at it? When I was in first grade, I started roller skating, influenced by my mom's involvement in skating and roller derby since the late 70s. As a family, we would often skate together as a way to spend quality time and have fun. My mom has always been incredibly unalived and talented at skating, even in her 50s, despite being medically complex and overweight due to health issues. Skating allows her to showcase her abilities, perform tricks, skate backwards, and master various skate steps. It's an enjoyable and active form of exercise for her that brings happiness. On the other hand, I've never been naturally good at skating, despite practicing. Balance and coordination have always been a challenge, and I've had my fair share of skating-related injuries. Nonetheless, I find joy in skating and love going up and down my block. On occasions when our schedules align, my mom and I meet up to skate together. I used to skate while my boyfriend went for night walks, and we would later rejoin each other. Recently, my boyfriend questioned why I continue to skate when I don't seem to improve. He considers it a waste of time and suggests I focus on a hobby where I can see personal growth. He expressed embarrassment when we go for walks and I struggle to maintain my balance, leading him to slow down or worry about my safety. In response, I offered to refrain from skating during our walks and only skate on my own. However, he argued that it wasn't solely about our shared activities. He questioned why I persist at something without any progress, suggesting that there comes a point when you should accept defeat and pursue other interests. His perspective surprised me because I believe that enjoying an activity doesn't require constant improvement or mastery. There are plenty of things I'm not unalived at, like karaoke, yet I still participate for the sheer joy of it. He has never told me to quit singing because I'll never be a professional. Additionally, skating doesn't drain our finances as it's a relatively inexpensive hobby. I've only replaced my skates once, and they remain in great condition since I take care of them. Therefore, I fail to understand why pursuing an activity I love, even if I'm not good at it, is seen as a waste. During a recent dinner conversation, I brought up the topic again, mentioning my afternoon plan of skating with my mom. He continued to question why someone would engage in a hobby they're not unalived at, claiming that it lacked fulfillment if there was no growth or recognition. I argued that finding joy and engaging in something solely for personal satisfaction should be enough. He dropped the discussion quietly, but I suspect it was more about exhaustion from the argument, rather than a change in his perspective. I genuinely don't comprehend the modern mindset that insists everything we do must lead to measurable improvement or serve as a source of income or personal achievement. Can't we simply embrace an activity that brings us joy and allows us to escape the confines of our homes? Why must everything be about being good at it? I'm not pursuing my hobbies for others or financial gain, they are simply pleasant endeavors. Isn't that the essence of a fulfilling hobby? I'm unsure if this perspective stems from hustle culture or a broader poop in society, where everything must have a tangible purpose or become a personal achievement test. We should allow people to enjoy things for the sake of enjoyment alone. My boyfriend groomed me at 22, a story of manipulation and betrayal. Hi, I'm Joanne, and I'm 17 years old. I still feel regret and guilt because of what I allowed to happen to me. Please, no hate. I am a victim of child grooming, and I want to warn you about the content of my story. It all started 2 years ago in 2021 during the lockdown. Since I had a lot of free time, I spent most of it on social media, especially Facebook. I was just 15 years old at the time when I came across a guy named Ian from Quezon City. Now, keep in mind that we were far apart since I lived in Nueva Ecija. What caught my attention was Ian's talent for architectural design in the game Minecraft. His creations were so modern, and I was inspired by them. I often commented or messaged him, asking for tips or sharing my thoughts on his work. We quickly became friends, but little did I know it was the start of something harmful. You see, being young and naive, I didn't know what signs to look out for. We chatted almost every day, staying up late and talking about everything. I confided in him about my problems, whether it was school or issues with my family, particularly my father. Seeking validation, affection, and attention, I trusted him and saw him as a protective older brother. We played games together like Call of Duty Mobile, Wild Rift, and Mobile Legends. It was fun, and I would often invite him to help me with my ranking in the games. But as time went on, my feelings for him started to change, and I fell in love with him. Surprisingly, he felt the same way. In late 2021, we started a relationship. We called each other, using sweet names like Love or Baby. Since it was a long-distance relationship, we used visual role-playing to connect. Sometimes, I would send him gifts for special occasions like Valentine's Day, anniversaries, Christmas, or my birthday. He even introduced me to his close friends and family, including his mother. But then things took a turn for the worse. He started bringing up inappropriate topics related to intimacy which made me uncomfortable. I had already experienced intimate assault when I was younger, and he knew about it. However, it seemed like he didn't care. He asked questions about things that made me feel uneasy, like my underwear or the size of my body parts. He even suggested watching adult content together. It sent shivers down my spine, and I told him that these discussions weren't okay, especially since I was a minor. But he didn't listen and continued pushing boundaries. He began requesting revealing pictures from me, using manipulative tactics that made me feel obligated because I loved him. I resisted, telling him I didn't want to do those things, but he persisted, using my love for him as a weapon. He even asked for a recorded intimacy scandal video for when we would meet on my 18th birthday. It was horrifying. I gave in reluctantly because of his emotional blackmail. He made me feel like it was a measure of my love for him. For 3 months, I endured this behavior, warning him to stop because it made me feel disgusted. I became paranoid. While it felt good to make the people you love happy, your safety should always come first, and that's a different topic altogether. We eventually broke up, but his influence over me lingered. 2 months passed without any contact until the cycle began again. This time, I couldn't take it anymore. One day, my father found out about what was happening before things escalated further. Thankfully, he didn't discover the extent of the explicit photos and videos I had shared. My father, being a retired soldier who despised groomers and rapists, gave me advice: break up with him before it turns into something worse. But instead of following his guidance, I pretended to break up with Ian and kept our relationship a secret to avoid confrontation. Days turned into months, and as I approached graduation, I began to realize the manipulation and abuse I had endured. I felt used, like a prey being hunted. My father had raised me to be a good person, and now I understood the truth of his words. With the support of my friends, I finally ended things with the monster who had taken advantage of me. After going through a healing process, I started to experience what it's like to be a normal teenager. I'm living my best life now, realizing that I am worth so much more than being someone's victim. I've changed and become a better person for myself and my future. If you are a minor like me and have experienced grooming or are unsure if you're being groomed, please wake up. You don't deserve to be treated this way. Raise your standards and be cautious. Nobody can help you if you don't help yourself. Groomers can spot their targets and gain their trust by fulfilling their needs, making you believe it's a beneficial relationship. But it isn't. Please wake up, it's never too late to protect yourself. My brother proposed to my fiancée, who is his ex. I called Mark after the incident and asked him to meet up with me at my place to talk. I told him that Jen would be around for the talk as well. He agreed to talk to both of us. The awkward silence was real. I started off by apologizing for not warning him that I would be proposing to Jen, and I apologized for hitting him. He said it was whatever, but he appreciated the apology. I told him what Jen had said about the relationship and breakup when I asked her about it, and I asked him to confirm if it was true. I pretty much said that his reaction throughout the whole thing has been extreme and I wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding their relationship or downplaying how serious they were. He confirmed that they only dated for a few weeks and he broke up with her because he lost interest and began seeing other women to stay entertained. Jen asked if he was acting like this because he still had feelings or regrets about ending things with her. He said he could admit he thought she was more attractive than when he last saw her, and she was the best in bed he's ever had, but he didn't find her that interesting. He proceeded to say I've damaged his reputation and violated him as a man by pursuing things with his ex. I reminded him that I had no idea they dated, so it wasn't like I consciously did this knowing their history together. He shrugged me off and said it didn't matter, I still should have broken it off. He was adamant that if the roles were reversed he would have done the same thing, which I doubt. This is considering during high school he would regularly flirt with my girlfriends just because he could. I asked him why he proposed to her if he didn't have any lingering feelings. Basically, to sum it up, he was talking about it to one of his buddies who was around when Mark and Jen dated, and the guy put the idea in his head that maybe Jen knew from the start that we were related and was doing this to get back at him, considering Jen had been hung up on him after they ended. He and his friend thought it would be a good idea to test it and see if they were right, so he came up with the idea to propose and see if she dumped me for him. Jen asked him to elaborate on why he thought she was hung up on him, and he told her that he heard she was asking about him following the breakup and still hanging out at the places they used to go to, so it was a valid assumption. Then for her to pop up randomly with his brother affirmed his suspicions. Jen told him she'd only asked about him once following the breakup and she'd been hanging out at those places with friends before they started dating and she wouldn't avoid them because of a breakup. She also told him she was offended at the idea that she would go as low as to pursue me, just to get back at him. He shrugged and gave her a half-assed apology but said she had to see it from his point of view. He asked her if she really didn't know and she told him that she didn't see the resemblance in us. In Jen's words, your brother is just way more attractive than you. He did not take this well and told us to take back his invite to the wedding. I told him he didn't have to worry about that as he was most likely going to be uninvited anyway. My parents aren't too happy about him being uninvited, and because we are brothers and should act more like men, not children. My response to that was to invite him, but he'll be sitting at the kids' table.